Welcome back to Land of the Wombats, fellow YouTubers. It's your bad old Uncle Chris here to share some off-grid pirate lifestyle stories. And about maybe, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks ago, I had a request to produce a video on SCOBYs. Now, that's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, and that's what SCOBY stands for. It's basically like an organic mass of stuff. Now, this stuff produces kombucha, which is a drink that people like. I don't like it personally, but I know Sandra likes it, and that's cool. No judgment there. But the SCOBY itself is really interesting because you can feed it to chickens. Now, if a human was to eat it, all we get from it is cellulose, but a chicken can extract something like 17% protein, which is as good as minced meat. Now, I'm pretty tight and I like to save some money wherever I can, and we used to feed minced meat to the chickens, and we're spending like $500 a year on chicken feed for actually giving them some meat to just give them that protein kick that they need to get through the winter months. Why not save some money? So let's do this, mother. Now I'll walk you through the process today, but we have 4 SCOBY hotels. Now this one was fed the longest time ago, and if you notice, the SCOBY itself is off on a wonky angle. Usually they sit at the surface level, but once they start to sink, you know that the SCOBY hotel needs feeding, and we'll get to that in a second. So that's the oldest. This is the newest one. It's actually a bit thin at the moment, and it's all broken up, but it will actually form into a solid clump. Just hang in there. That's the next one, and look at that, it's doing beautifully, and you can see there's a SCOBY there, SCOBY there, SCOBY there, SCOBY there. And the next one, this was fed about 6 weeks ago, and there's a SCOBY on top. It's a nice thick looking thing. There's some underneath which you could grab right now. Before we get into this, I should actually mention, how did we get into this SCOBY business? Well, a lovely local lady gifted us a SCOBY because Sandra said to someone that she was interested in making kombucha to drink. Now, kombucha is like super easy to drink. It's basically the liquid that's in the SCOBY mix, and that's all it is. And you drink it. I don't actually like the flavour of it, but I will say that it smells better than apple cider vinegar, which is what Sandra used to drink beforehand. It was just like a tonic-y sort of drink, and yeah, that one smells far worse, and we've got like about 30 apple trees, and we're much better use of apples, rather than making apple cider vinegar, is making hard apple cider, and this stuff is great. I love it. That's lovely. That's a superb drop. Oh, mother's milk. The recording? Oh. Today, what we're going to do is this particular SCOBY needs feeding, so we'll feed that. And this one here, which was fed about 6 weeks ago, has a SCOBY we'll remove. So the first thing we'll do is remove the SCOBY, and what I do, I cut it up into, like it's a big slimy sort of leathery disc. Feels like chicken breast but slimy. And what I do is I cut it up into small pieces with kitchen scissors, super sharp things, and they will be chucked into the chicken bucket. And I'll mix it up with a bit of rolled oats too, because you know it won't be entirely a dry material, and the rolled oats will actually just pick up some of the kombucha as well, which is probably good for the chickens too. So here what we've got a muslin top on it so it can breathe, so it gets oxygen in there, and I've got a rubber band here on the top. There's also a little note on the back saying when I last fed it, because you know, otherwise you can't remember any of this sort of stuff. So we just take it off gently, don't lose your thing. And this is the horror bit, so check this lovely, it's a bit slimy. Ugh. Anyway, a bit hard to grab, and I'll just grab that one, and I'm going to grab that one, and look at that, it's actually not too bad. And look at that beautiful thing. So that is a SCOBY. And that is like 17% protein for chickens. So that's really good stuff. And you can smell the kombucha a bit, but it certainly doesn't smell anything bad as apple cider vinegar. And I just cut it into small pieces, just work around it. And it's not too hard as a process. I put it on a plate there because I can dump it into the chicken bucket later. I have to keep watching the scissors, make sure I don't cut a finger off. That would be a bad thing. And you know what? I think the chickens would like it. They'd go blood. Yeah. You don't want to go to sleep in a chicken pen because I think probably the chickens would eat you. Yeah. That's not good. I think the light just sort of dimmed on the battery. So, almost done. And if you cut it up into small pieces, you kind of have to remember that chickens don't have teeth. So they've got a gizzard. So this will go into their gizzard, and the little grains that they keep in there, which is why you should feed them small, fine rock dust particles every now and then, it goes towards breaking it down. So that's the first stage. So that's done. We've extracted the SCOBY, and it kind of, like the mass sort of sunk, but it'll be fine. So I wouldn't even think twice about that if it's underwater, not floating at the top. Next stage is we're going to feed this monster. And in order to do that, what you need to feed SCOBYs is basically 2 scoops of black tea. Now, some people use green tea, but I've read that black tea is more effective because black tea and green tea is pretty much the same stuff. The black tea is the fermented camellia leaves. And this is a soup spoon, by the way, I didn't explain that. And I'm going to take 2 soup spoons of this and put it into a filter, because you don't really want to put the tea leaves into the mix. So 2 into there. And then I'm going to pour half a litre of water. That's about 1/8 of a gallon. And I'm going to just check that. I've got levels on the back of it, so half a litre should do nicely. The bacteria tea, just chuck that over there. It's out of the way, we're done with that. And it smells actually really nice. Black tea is really nice. And by the way, you can grow tea in a lot of different corners of the world. We've got like a little tea camellia down below. I think it's the wrong type for this environment, but that's okay. So we've done two soup spoons of tea into here. Now we're going to go 3 of, and this is just raw sugar. I'd probably stick with raw sugar. Probably stick with organic tea too, because you don't really want pesticides and fungicides and all sorts of other weird products going into your SCOBY, because it could probably kill it. So we'll chuck 3 into there. So it's 1 and 2 and 3. And we will let that steep until it cools. If you put this stuff in to the SCOBY hotel as it is hot, you will kill them. So you really want to store them at room temperature. You really don't want them to get too hot or too cold. Too cold and the growth will stop. Too hot and you'll probably kill them. So, it's like anything. You just got to use a bit of common sense for that. And essentially, this will take quite a while to cool down. So the next thing we've got to do is, this provides kombucha, and I will take some of that out. So this SCOBY hotel needs feeding, and you can tell because the SCOBYs have sunk and they're just not looking as active as they normally are. And generally when they're active, there'll be a SCOBY sitting on top and it'll be floating, it'll cover the whole surface. And even if it's only partly covering the surface, as long as it's at the surface, and you can see this one's sunk, so it just needs a feed. If you don't feed them, the environment will get too toxic and then it'll die. And as I said, this was done 6 weeks ago, so it's not something you got to do every day. Attending to your SCOBYs is a little bit easier than feeding yeast. So I'm going to take half of the material out of this and the liquid material, and that's kombucha. That's where kombucha comes from. And that is a good drink. It certainly smells better than apple cider vinegar. And I've got a container here and a funnel, and hopefully I don't stuff it up. I'm going to take half of that material out. So just pour it slowly, and in it goes. There's that. Yeah, I can go a bit more. Just check it from time to time. Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit more. Yeah, and adding that liquid that we've just made with the tea and the sugar, once it's cooled down, back into here, will reinvigorate this and they'll just start growing again. This is like, it's almost idiot proof. You can't stuff it up. As long as you've got a good mother, I think you're fine. Yeah, so as I said, when the liquid cools down, we'll bang it into there and that's it. And then probably won't need to look at that for another couple of weeks. And it doesn't get any easier than that. Obviously we put the muslin and a little rubber band on it and I'll mark out the date that I fed it. And that's really it. You know what? It doesn't get a cheaper process than this. So get into it and I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching.